skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, performance enhancement expert, and author, Sean Douglas. And this show is heard in over 44 countries, such as the U.S., Belgium, India, Malaysia, Canada, France, Panama, New Zealand. So thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformations. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting those transformational moments that has changed our lives and how we're using these to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. Now, you can listen to us every Wednesday and on the first and third Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are live. Now, on Tuesdays and Thursdays and some other times, I host special pop-up episodes for book launches, product launches, events, anything that needs to get promoted and will transform lives. We promote it here. You can also join our Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio Community, and subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, the Google Play Music app. Subscribe and never miss an episode, because on this show are impactful and amazing guests that are impacting everyone around them. And my guest today does exactly that. So if at any point during the show you have a question for myself or my guests, you can call us at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. So please help me welcome to the show, Tonya Dawn Recla. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here.
I am super, super pumped to have you on the show. What you're doing in the world is absolutely phenomenal, absolutely incredible, and you are impacting so many people, and it is an honor to have you on the show.
Aw, you're so sweet. Well, thank you very much. The honor is absolutely mine.
So we met at an event called New Media Summit, and you're a podcaster as well, and you were one of the icons, one of the icons of influence. Yeah, and so I'm like,
we are
way.
icons, I think.
Yeah, oh, definitely. But I love the fact that your show is themed around superpowers, and I'd never heard this before ever. I was like, what? Like, wait a minute. And I've seen some pretty kind of far out there. Like, there's a show called The Earth is Flat Show. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. But when I was like superpowers, I was like, all right, like I'm already hooked. You know what I mean? Like I'm already there. And as I listened to episodes, and then I was like, yes, this is amazing. So talk about that for a quick second. What is it with the Super Power Up podcast? What makes it so special?
Well, it's really fascinating because people ask me all the time, like, how did I go from, the background, the military, government, counter intel, spy world into talking about superpowers. And it really, in retrospect, you kind of sit back and go, oh, it kind of makes sense. Like it kind of all threads together. And that really is the foundation for it. I found myself with the birth of our daughter and some other transformational kind of spiritual awakening moments being thrust into the woo-woo space. And it was like, whoa, it was hugely uncomfortable there. Because, I have this really practical, conservative background, and, and I wasn't real sure how to reconcile those two things. And so the concepts that a lot of folks talk about in those spaces just didn't resonate with me. And, you know, God and I had many conversations around this, and it was like, what are you having me do here? This is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where kind of the superpower thing came from. And it really is the kind of the idea that we have these innate abilities and these innate gifts, and is it really possible? And aren't these just movies and TV shows? And what if we came here to be more? And are we even willing to stretch ourselves to step into that dialogue? And when you start doing that, it's like you discover people have the same reaction you do, which is like, oh, that's pretty freaking cool. I have superpowers, you know? So it's like, wow, how cool does it be that we bring people on and we're like, dude, I think you have superpowers. Like, what are they? Let's talk about them. And everybody does. So it's a lot of fun. Definitely.
And you've done a lot of episodes. I mean, you're pushing almost 200 episodes.
Well, we've done many, many more than that. We're airing the 200th this month. We've been at it for about 2 years. It started as me airing about once a week, like not having any clue what I was doing, just kind of putting one foot in front of the other. And now we're at 4 hosts. We have SuperPower Up, which is the original show, and then we have Sex, Love, and Superpowers, Superpower Kids, and Superpowers of the Soul we're launching here soon. And so and we're opening up that conversation to others who want to try their hand at podcasting.
There you go. So I want to dive in and learn more about what you do. So as the executive director of SuperPower Experts, Tonya Dawn Recla spends her days convincing people superpowers are real and recruiting other powerful mutants. Love that. So awesome. During her career as a government special agent, she explored the human psyche, honed her superpowers, and cracked the code of enlightened self-actualization. Tonya continues as a lifelong student of energy manipulation, transmutation, clairsenses, intentional molecular creation, and more. She believes everyone has the power to create a multidimensional existence and master the human experience. And if you want to know more about her show and what she's doing, you can go to SuperPowerExperts.com. She is the creator and the host of the SuperPower Up podcast. I call it a franchise because you've really broken out into all these different ones. It's literally like a franchise. And so all of the links, the LinkedIn, the Facebooks, all that stuff is there. So I really want to know what your why is. You know, why do you do what you do?
You know, the easiest answer is I don't feel at this stage that I have a choice, and that's not an abdication, like I'm a victim to it or I'm in servitude. It really is what culminated once I was able to fully step into the highest essence of who I am. It is what I do. I tell people when you step into your big work, you can't help but do it. Like you do it in your sleep. You do it all the time. Like it really, truly becomes who you are. And that's the place that I feel like I got to. And when that pivotal moment happened, it was so clear that it invades and pervades everything. And so that's the overarching kind of, I don't have any idea what else I would be doing. Now, when it comes into why entrepreneurship and why the podcast and why superpowers and all of that stuff, to me, that's the choice that I made on top of the even bigger why. And so the why, all of that was, you know, as you said, I came out of government, and my husband and I are both former counter-intel agents, and, you know, we had this amazing, remarkable daughter that we birthed, and it was like, what do we do here? And so we started a corporate counterintelligence firm, and we were vetting companies and everything else. And when that was really successful and we proved that we actually did know what we were doing in business, the superpower thing kind of just started evolving. And it was like, this is an area for me to play in. You know, we didn't play with the first business. It was serious. It was like life or death to us, right? Because we were trying to prove that we didn't have to keep our government day jobs. And so it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns, you know. And not only that, but we were looking into some pretty nefarious people. Again, you know, I thought we had walked away from that in government, and then here we were in the business sector. People in the business sector may even be more vicious because there's lots of money involved. But you know, so it was like we weren't playing at it. It was really, we were trying to prove survival. And once we rested into that kind of foundation, we were kind of able to see how business could be different and could be more fun. And so SuperPower Experts was really my arena to play in. And over time, my husband joined me in it, and we worked very well together. And then, of course, the collaborative impact of having other experts and hosts and everything else.
Love it. Amazing. So can you dive a little deeper? Like, tell me who you were before you got to this moment. Go back 5, 10 or so years. Like who was Tonya during her government time and then transitioning out?
She was very, very smart.
Okay. I love it.
I
can see that.
That was what it was. People ask all the time, like, did you always know you had these gifts? And I was like, no, I just thought I was really smart. Like, that's what I was told. From the time I was a child on up, like, gifted education and honors college and master's degree. Like, I was just very intelligent. And then I became an intelligence agent, right? And so it was like, I equated all of it to, like, how those of us who awaken in this regard just kind of have this sense that we're just a little bit different, right? And so to me, in the way I equated it was that I was just smarter than a lot of people. And I bring that up because I think a lot of us deal with that. And so it took me a while to be able to kind of unpack that. And look at it instead like, wait, those were like intuitive gifts, and I really do have the ability to read people's minds, and I really am empathic, and I really am, but no one even told me that was possible, right? So I thought it was intellect, and to be able to separate away from that and realize that my logic and my ability to think logically wasn't really my biggest power, that what really wasn't the essence of who I was. I defined myself through that. And I had to do a lot of work to unfold that. And so to move from defining myself as this really intelligent person and I also had shaped a whole personality around accomplishment and being a very intelligent person. And so if I did anything that was less than intelligent, it jeopardized and poked holes at the very essence of my being. And that's a hard place to sit. And I see a lot of folks who have these gifts really struggle with that. And so I like to call that out and say that it wasn't until I was willing to not be so smart, and kind of play in a space that I wasn't comfortable in. And a lot of that was catalyzed by the birth of our daughter. She really opened up some magical spaces. Everything bizarre and woo-woo and crazy that you can think of that a child would bring into your world, she did. From telling me her name before I ever knew I was pregnant to, after birth, like leaving her body, like her dad and I would find her body like just limp, like nothing in there, like she would leave. And, that's really challenging for first-time parents. And then it was like, and then as she got older, like cowering in the corner because these entities and beings kept appearing to her and talking to her. And it was like, what the heck is going on here, and having to face all that.
Yep. So can you pick a transformational moment that really set you on the path to what you're doing right now? A lot of people become sexual assault advocates because they were sexually assaulted, raped, or, Mothers Against Drunk Driving started because the mother was, her daughter got killed by a drunk driver. So the mother was really enraged and used that for good. And, MAD was born. And so can you think of a moment or however many, that really set you on the path to say, this is my calling, this is what I want to do?
I think it was a buildup of a lot of moments. Obviously the birth of our daughter is a pivotal one I've mentioned twice. Prior to that, I've got my rape stories and my whatnot this lifetime that I had. It wasn't the rape itself that was pivotal. It was my choice to look at why and observe that from a different perspective and say, okay, what is going on here? Like, why would I agree to this? What is this about for me? And really taking that kind of higher elevated perspective. But I would say the most pivotal moment that led up to building, what we have now was the absolute moment I can remember distinctly. I was sitting on that precipice looking into what I knew was possible, and I made the choice to play. And that was tough I mean, that may sound like a really easy thing for a lot of folks, but I had to make that choice knowingly, consciously, and deliberately to play and to say, you know what, I get that on a lot of levels, me as my personality, as my lower frequency aspect, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I'm kind of out of control with this whole thing. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not even sure how real powerful I am in the overall gist of things. But I do know that I'm an aspect of the divine, and I believe that. And I believe that I'm here to do and be something much bigger than I can even grasp right now. I had to be willing to step into the abyss without knowing what it looked like and what it was going to turn out to be. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones movie where you have to be able to step down even though the bridge is invisible.
Yep.
You know, you
I
have
was
to throw the
thinking
sand
the
down
same
in front
thing.
of you. Yep, that was exactly what it felt like. And it was like, I mean, it goes way beyond Jesus take the wheel or jumping without a net. He was just like, I give. I totally give. Like, let's go. Like, I've tried everything else. I've persevered. I've pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I mean, you're military. You know, it was like I've done everything will and logic and emotions and everything could do for me. And it's like this, I just knew that this was beyond that. Mm-hmm. And I just chose to play. It was like, you know, if we create our reality anyway, screw it. Like, I'm going to create one I want to live in. Like, I'm going to create one where superpowers are real and where mutants exist and where I can have fun and where I believe that we are all powerful, all knowing, infinite beings. And I'm just going to do it. And that was really what it took. But that was the culmination of a series of transformational moments.
Awesome. You know, the one thing I was thinking too, it's like, man, when we try to do everything ourselves, we just wreck it. Like, you know, like you fix one thing and then something else gets broke and then you try to fix that thing. And then so pretty soon you got like rubber bands, duct tapes, and paper clips holding your life together, you know? And so,
absolutely.
You know, like you said, like Jesus take the wheel, whatever. And it goes deeper than that. It's just like when you surrender and be like to the universe, you know, no matter what you believe, you're ultimately surrendering to life, surrendering to the universe and go, you know what? It's too big for me. Like, just do it. Like, whatever's going to happen, let it happen. I am a student of the game. You know, and I love that, you know, in the bio part, you're like, you know, you're a student, you know, of the energy manipulation, like you're a student, like, you know, when I read bios, it was like, I'm an expert in this. I love the fact that you're like, I'm a student of this, and I'm constantly learning and growing, and I think that's really key. And I just kept thinking, I'm like, yep, surrender. Like, sometimes you just have to just kind of throw your hands up in the air and be like, I'm done. I'm not going to control anything. Like, whatever happens, happens. That's it.
Well, and it's so funny because as I did that, and I can tell, those of you who are standing on that precipice, I can tell you that everything changes from that point forward. Like, the fear I think that we hold innately is that that's somehow the end game. Like, I don't know, and I've walked clients through that space where they literally lost themselves. Like, they thought they were transitioning, and I'm like, oh, you're transitioning, but not quite in the way that you think. Like, you've got work to do here. But for some reason, it's like when you squeeze through the eye of the needle, it's like we have this belief that we're going to leave, like that our spirits are going to leave our bodies, that it's death, and it is death. And that's, you know, the ego is scrapping and scraping and wanting to hold on to that. But trust me when I say that it opens up a whole new world on the other side of that. And so you got to grapple with that, and you get to choose which piece of yourself you're going to let control things. And it's not, you know, you just get to that place where it's just not enough to entertain those little voices. It's like you just got to opt out. And it usually only happens when we're so sick and tired. Like, when it's like, okay, like I call it the Job moment. Like, everybody has their Job moment where it's like, I got nothing. Whatever that nothing is for you, but it's like, I got nothing. I got nothing left. Like, I'm spent. I'm done. Like, what the hell? Like, you have to be so incredibly desperate that even though you have no idea what it looks like on the other side of it, you're like, it's got to be better than this. and then it's
right.
Like, oh, you know, the heavens open up, and you're like, oh, look at that. That was easy. And what looked like this huge, giant chasm from one side, it's like itty bitty little crack that you just stepped over. It's like, oh, I've been here all along. Like, this was not a big deal.
Oh yeah, overcoming alcohol abuse. You know, I was like, there's no way, and smoking and the negative thinking and everything. I was just like, ugh, I'm so far down. You know, and a lot of people, you know, say that, you know, the rock bottom was where they built the foundation of their life now. Like you had to go that far down to build the foundation and then go back up. And I was thinking, I was like, man, looking back, like I know exactly what you need to do. You know, but at the time, it looks so insurmountable. And then you go to the other side, like, that was it?
It does.
Okay, cool, got it.
That was it. Yeah.
so,
and everyone's
so speaking
like,
of that,
wait, what do you mean? Like,
right? Yep. So speaking of that, what has been the best part about your transformational journey? And you can't say your daughter. You can't say her.
Well,
we all know that
I
she's
can't say
amazing.
her. She's freaking amazing. Well, but here's the deal. Like, I don't really get much credit for that, to be honest with you. Like, and that's why she's so amazing. It's like I was pretty clear from the beginning that she was not mine. You know, that I was incredibly blessed to be able to kind of steward that. And I take ownership of my part in what I've created and assisted her with. But I was really going to say the life that we've built, and it includes the triumvirate that is my husband and my daughter and myself, and just the freedom. When Justin and I came out of government, we made a pact to not do business unless Neva could be involved. And people thought we were nuts, but it's like, here's the deal. Like, we had pretty freaking amazing jobs. Like, we ran around chasing spies. Like, that's a job that a lot of people can't even fathom, you know? So it's like, I did not come out of that and it was a secure, quote unquote, secure job. You know, it was lofty in its ambitions and everything else. Yeah. But it's like, I didn't come out of that to make another job where I was going to be separate from my spouse or separate from my daughter. And so, like, you know, if we can't do business that way, we might as well go back to this gig, because it is a pretty good gig, you know. And so it's like we just played. Again, we were just courageous in that. And we turned down business. People said we were nuts. And it's courageous places like, you know, certain business conferences like CEO Space or even New Media Summit. You know, she was an icon of influence there. And other places that are allowing for things to look a little bit different, that gave us that continued to support us and give us courage to do what we wanted to do in the way that we wanted to do it. And I think so often we look to the outside world for proof that it can be done, but it's like, whoa, if you're the one to do it, you're not going to find any proof. It hasn't been done. But that doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means you have to have the courage to say, I don't think we have to do things that way, and to stand by it, because the external environment and naysayers and whatever will absolutely give you an opportunity to cave. And that just builds up, you know, your cellular confidence if you stick it out. And I would say that's what the biggest benefit has been, is the amazing life we travel around. We just got our tickets for Burning Man. Like, we've got it made. You know, we have a lovely existence.
Awesome.
We went last year. We took Neva last year. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. How did she like it?
Oh, she loved it. She's like home. Yeah. Like, that is her space. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I don't think that, you know, it's all sunshine and rainbows and you just wake up in the morning and go, oh, look at me, and, you know, everything we touch is gold. Got to struggle a little bit. So talk about one of the worst parts that you've experienced on your journey so far.
Well, what a great question. It's kind of a two-parter. The first part is, and it's going to feel a little bit like a cop-out, but because it really is great all the time. The only time that it's not is if I get caught up in every expansion has the moment of, I don't know what I'm doing, or somebody else does this better, or that's how my kind of shadow elements kick in, is like, what the heck, like, where is this going? And it doesn't matter how many times I have successfully moved into higher frequencies and more expansion, that moment of stepping into a new one invokes that. And I'm getting stronger at observing it, and the moments are getting shorter, but I'm in observation of the fact that it still occurs. And so that is the that's really the only challenge that comes up is am I going to sink into those, what I call the wow moments, or really truly like remember who I am at that time. But I will tell you the reason why it can be so good is similar to, you'll like this analogy. When I was an agent, I spent my whole life looking for the perfect job, which is what I thought I needed to fulfill myself. And when I finally became an agent, I was sitting there, like, even if I was writing a report, or even if I was cleaning a weapon, or even whatever I was doing, whatever menial task I was doing that wasn't doing surveillance and wasn't, interrogating or interviewing somebody about being a spy, I could always say that task was being done for a bigger purpose. I could always, at the end of the day, trace it directly to my mission of, protecting national security. And it was okay. Like, it calmed down the ego piece of me. It was like, what the hell? Why am I cleaning my weapon? And da-da-da-da-da. It's like that little voice that wants to get obstinate. And the same is true in the life that I live now, where it's like my work, that big work, is everything. So it doesn't matter if I'm washing dishes or, having to address an irate client or customer because, somebody said something they shouldn't have, or a problem with a podcast or anything like that. It's in service to something bigger. And when you can look at it through that lens, it's like, what's the issue? Really, it's like, okay. And so I think that's why it's so important. And I love that you asked the why question first, because if you can keep that front and center, is there ever really a problem? As long as you're identifying with that.
Right. No, I love that. Wow, what a great explanation. I try to, as a speaker, I try to talk like that, and it sounds better in my head than when I actually come out of my mouth. So I was like, wow, how well articulated is that? It's almost like you've done this before.
You're so funny.
You're awesome. So I really want to know, because I talk a little bit about like energy management over time management. I tell people to plot their energy. So what you do is you make like a big like a bar graph. So you make like a big L, and at the top is 10, at the bottom 0. So fill in the numbers. And so what you do on the bottom part is 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. And so I want you to plot your energy according to where you are feeling or what you're doing, at that moment of time. So I usually wake up about 6:30. I'm dead to the world. My energy is at 3, possibly on life support. And then by noon, I'm like rocking it. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Like I'm good to go. So I'm like 6, 7, 8-ish, depending on how busy my day has been. But by 4, I am crushing it. I'm like almost 9, almost 10. And then right around like 8, I start to kind of plateau. Between 4 and 8, I'm plateauing. And I'd probably say like 9 and 10 o'clock, I'm coming down, like hard. I'm coming down. I'm ready to go to bed. I'm just tired. I'm, whatever. And so I tell people to schedule their tasks according to where your energy levels are throughout the day. Because you can always get more energy. I mean, you drink a Red Bull, you get more energy. But you can't get more time. 86,400 seconds in a day, that's it. So instead of managing time, you just manage energy. What is energy manipulation? I wonder if we're kind of along the same way or if I'm way off.
No, you're not way off. I love that exercise, by the way, and I think that a lot of people need that kind of a practical approach to it, because the dialogues around energy, and I talk a lot about frequencies, vibrations, dimensionality, like we run the gamut at SuperPower Experts. It is a multidimensional business, and so we can meet people where they're at. And I do see a lot of folks, especially ones who are very practical, grounded, conservative backgrounds and stuff, that there has to be those bridges and those segues for things to even be applicable for them. And so I like the fact that you walk people through that exercise. I think it's brilliant. When I talk about energy manipulation, it obviously stems from the same kind of component, but it came from a vision I had where I was standing on a stage speaking to a group of people, a large kind of auditorium place, and cautioning them about energetic manipulation. And what was coming out of my mouth was like, this is like NLP on steroids. And it stems from, Justin and I we met teaching at the Counterintelligence Special Agent course, and one of the courses that we taught was one I had written, but it was one of the pieces of that course we taught congruency, because, when people find out you were a spy, they always want you to teach them how to do lie detection techniques and all that sexy stuff, and it's like, well, I contend that lie detection is not a science. Like, I don't think that there's anything across the board, and most lie detection techniques are really dangerous in the hands of most people. But we were willing to teach something that we called congruency, which is the idea that we speak with our words, our body, and our energy simultaneously. And very, very, very few people know how to lie energetically. Like, we've been taught to lie with our words, our body. I mean, the worst spies in history passed the polygraph numerous times. And that machine is designed to detect subtle movements in the body, that would suggest lying. And so with energy manipulation, it stems from the idea that you have to be really comfortable knowing and accepting that we are either energetically manipulating an environment or being manipulated by it in every situation. That makes people extremely uncomfortable because we don't like the idea of either being manipulated or manipulating others, right? We think that we automatically come up with these ideas of coercion and other things. But when you talk about energy, manipulating energy, we do it all the time, right? And that's actually what you're talking about, because now that you've got that data, you can actually go about manipulating your own energy and changing it if you so desired. I'd imagine what you give voice to is help people work within their own natural kind of energy flow, but you can also manipulate that if you really wanted to. Let's say you decided that you really wanted to work a grave shift and you had to manipulate that energy. You could do that, because especially now that you have the data, that makes it even easier. And so we're constantly manipulating energy. And when you aren't aware of that, then you don't realize just how much you're being manipulated in an environment. Walk into a shopping mall and pay attention to where your thoughts go, where your cravings go, where your energy goes. And immediately, if you're attuned enough, you will be able to sense that wanting, needing energy that pervades shopping malls. Disneyland, same difference.
Wow.
Or a bar. Like, let's say a bar is a great example. Like, you may not drink, or maybe you have, or you do, and you walk into a bar, and all of a sudden you need a drink. Like, you have to have a drink. And most of us aren't in any level of awareness about that. Well, some people with perhaps nefarious intent, or at least profitable, lucrative intent, are using that in marketing arenas. And for the most part, we accept a decent amount of that. But when you become aware of it, you're much more in control. It's all driving people toward what we call self-dominion. And if you're not willing to look at how energy manipulates, then you'll never be in full self-dominion, because the environment will continually bat you around and you're not even aware of it. And so that's where some of that conversation comes from.
Wow. That sounds amazing. It totally
really,
makes sense
really
because,
cool.
right? I'm like blown away, because the whole time I'm hearing like Tony Robbins and T. Harv Eker and these guys. T. Harv Eker is the author of the Millionaire. It's a millionaire book. But anyway, T. Harv Eker, his book, he talks about where what you focus on expands. So basically, I mean, literally, like everything that you focus on. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I don't know why I was thinking about that. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is what his book is. And he literally says, like, what you focus on will expand. Like, you'll start going down rabbit holes that you never thought you'd go down, And then Tony Robbins says that where focus goes, energy flows. Whatever you focus on, your energy will subconsciously flow that way. So if, you're crazy about a bad breakup, or you're obsessing over something, that energy is getting applied to that, and basically it expands, it gets bigger. It's, so they're kind of saying the same things, but the whole time when you're talking about the energies that you apply in this, and I'm like, oh my God, like, yes, like I'm so in tune with what you're saying. And I really think that if more people knew about that, Oh man, like how much?
Well, and I actually take that a step further. I tell people to do this kind of work, and mind you, and I probably should have caveated it, like a lot of the stuff that I do with clients and stuff is not for the faint of heart. Like this is the pathway to self-dominion. It's like Jedi training. Like this is not, like once you step into this space, you don't get to blame or point fingers at anything or anyone ever again. And so I tell people to step into those spaces, you have to actually be able to look at something in your existence and deny, or look at something in the face and deny its existence. And so what those gentlemen talk about, and they're brilliant in what they do, that you know, where you put your energy actually expands, but how do you teach people to put their energy into something that they can't even see yet? And the only way to do that is that they have to believe that what they are seeing is malleable. If they don't, if they think that what they're seeing is real and concrete and that's the only reality, they will never move beyond it. You have to let the reality that you see in front of you dissolve before you can ever step into something else. And that's the trick. And it only happens in what I call the abstract frequency, stepping away from physical reality as we know it and moving into that abstract frequency challenges even the most woo-woo and, you know, out there among us. Because it's one thing to know these concepts exist, and it's quite another to live it.
Yep. Oh, definitely. Definitely nailed it. So talk about, because I don't know what, so like transmutation and Clair senses, and what's that?
So transmutation is a process we're all very familiar with in personal development, and it's really taking something like, let's say, you spoke of it earlier, a trauma, you know, a rape situation or something that's happened to death or whatever, and taking that and turning it's alchemical. So you're taking that and turning it into something different. And my belief is that we all agree to transmute certain things in this lifetime. Like I imagine this round table that we all sat around, you know, prior to incarnating. It's like, okay, cool, I'll take rape, I'll take racism, I'll take, you know, all these social ills. We kind of divvy them out, and then we set up experiences to have so that it gives us the opportunity to first be a victim of those situations or be challenged by them, you know, kind of like Spider-Man had to be bit by the spider, and then neutralize that within ourselves and then use them as our superpowers. And they give us a lot of clues about the work that we agree to do or what part of the work we agree to do here. And so that's transmutation. The Clair senses, I don't do a ton with anymore because I think that there's actually a lot that lies even beyond Clair senses. But Clair senses take you from the physical senses like sight, smell, you know, all the traditional five that we're familiar with, and they expand those senses in the energy field that isn't as readily accepted. And so Clair audience is, you know, the ability to hear things from other frequencies that maybe you hear somebody talking, but that person isn't physically standing there, and so you don't really know. There's all kinds of it's like your five senses get their own kind of upgrade, if you will. So that's what the Clair senses are. And that's a great first step for people walking into superpowers. And okay, what can I do? And a lot of people hear voices or they channel or all these other things, but we call those predisposed superpowers, and a lot of those are Cat 1 superpowers, which are, you know, we all have them, and they're a great thing to start playing with, and so we guide people into how to use those. That is
cool. That's what, you know, we were talking before the show started. Like, you don't get this from like a not interview podcast. You know what I mean? Like I'm learning so much, up close, personal. You know, real authentic conversations, you know what I mean? And I'm blown away. Like, I love Discovery Channel and like all that. Like, I love learning stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm like super geeked out right now. You know, I think you're just
I love it.
Amazing.
Oh, thank you.
But definitely, I mean, this isn't something that is like mainstream. Like, not everybody's and I think that people shy away when it's not mainstream and it's not widely accepted. You know, they're like, oh no, okay, I love it. You know, because we keep saying like woo woo, like it's all this woo woo, like because that's what people think. Like, oh, it's all this like weird, like like all this weirdness. You know what I mean? And once you experience it, once you see it for yourself, and what changes happen in your life, then you begin to understand how it's not a one-size-fits-all in this space. You know, it's a malleable skill to where I apply it to myself, and because everybody's different. That's what I love.
Well, and yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, by numbers, about 1% of the population really is ready to step into or embody the abstract frequency, and of that 1%, less than 5% actually do it. And that's kind of the mission, if you will. And so for whatever reason, and I don't pretend to totally understand why, but the 5% is important, and I think that's where we start to see social proof. And then once there's social proof, I mean, we're all about divergence and convergence. So once there's social proof, mass consciousness will follow, but we're a long way off from that yet. And so, you know, when you think about it, you're right. 99% of the population is not having these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So let's talk about, switching gears here, let's talk about some of your influencers, because I think that once you enter this space, there's got to be a mentor, something like, you know, and I'd love to have Wim Hof on the show. I think that just hearing his story about how he can regulate his body, and he does all these, you know, deep dives in the ice and all that, like he can do it, you know, like bare skin too, right? I mean, you know, you learn about the Wim Hof method, but there's the guy. Like, is there somebody who maybe invented it, or somebody who's the expert, or somebody that you've learned from?
You know, no. And I think that I really struggled with that early on, to be honest with you, because when I first opened up to all of this, it wasn't easy. It wasn't natural. It wasn't organic to who I knew myself to be at that time. It was painful. It was, I mean, I was taken through visions and journeys, and my body was like pulled and prodded and poked in all kinds of ways that I couldn't even imagine. And it was, all this stuff was happening, and I thought I was going crazy. I had some folks that I could kind of run it by, but ultimately it was like, I'm talking about being, you know, flown off to dragon realms, and being dragged through the matrix, and being shown these things, and being, you know, having these people and beings and entities appear to me. And I was hyper resistant to all of that. And it wasn't until, you know, a good friend of mine said, you know, you do know what you're doing to your daughter. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she had developed a real sensitivity to clairaudience and clairvoyance, both sight and sound. And he's like, she's suffering because you're resisting your gift. And I was like, what? And I was like, you want to talk about motivation. It's like, you know, he hit the mommy guilt button. And I was like, oh, wow. And it was that night that I sat on the bed. I'll never forget, Justin was in Afghanistan. And Eva and I were traveling around together. And I sat on the edge of the bed because I was like, okay, this isn't happening anymore. And I started, whatever.
It's starting to break up a little bit. It's starting to break up. Can you still hear me?
Say, what is this thing? You know, then I put my hand through the wall, and I could go to other people's bodies. I mean, it was just, what is this?
Hey, it's starting to break up just a little bit. Can you still hear me? Tonya?
You're it. You better know who your allies are to get support, and good part of the to do.
Yeah. Can you? It's breaking up just a little bit. Can you still hear me? Hello? Tonya, are you still there? I think it's starting to break up just a little bit. Hello? Oh, I think I lost her. Are you still there? Hello, can you hear me? Tonya, you still there? Hello, Tonya. Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me? I think I lost her. Tonya, are you there? Oh, we might have some technical difficulties here in a second. Hello, you still there? Hello, Tonya, are you still there? Try to get this fixed. I don't know what happened. Well, why don't we try to get this fixed? So we're talking with Tonya Recla. Let's see if we can get that back. Gotta love technology, everybody, right? So we were talking about energy manipulation and clairvoyance and all that, and how your superpowers are all kind of tied into that. And we're talking about the energy plots earlier, and how that's super important to manage your energy and not so much your time. And I teach this in all of my resilience boot camps about energy management, and what Tonya was saying is super, super important. So let's see if we can get her back, and we can wrap up the energy portion of what she was talking about. If you have any questions for any of our guests on the show, you can call in 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. I love taking questions. I love talking to the guests, and just hearing what you guys think of the show, and hearing about what we talk about on the show, how it resonates with you guys. And so if you have any questions, again, you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And we're going to continue talking about superpowers, and I think we all have superpowers that that maybe we haven't tapped into. We have the potential built up. We just need to find a way to unlock it. And so it's super important that we really try to unlock our true potential. And however you see a way to do that, whether it be, what she was talking about with like managing your energy and, with energy manipulation and all that, or maybe you have a creative mind and you need an outlet of that creativity, and whatever it is, once you fully step into that, you'll then elevating your life. And so I try to, mentor people who are not living at the standard that they want to live at. And so when you can unlock your true potential, you can elevate your life to an HNL. We call that whole nother level. And once you can operate at those high levels, we can go back and pick up everybody, along the way. So I think it's like super important, you know, to find your creativity, to find your passions, purpose, and that's, you know, we talk about it all the time. Everybody talks about purpose and passion, and you know, those are super, super, super important. But to find out what is your zone of genius, to find out what is your, just your zone of genius, your, you know, superpowers, like she says. You know, everybody has different gifts. And so if you can hone in on those gifts, I believe that you will then live an extraordinary and epic life. And that's what we're all trying to do. I don't think anybody wants to live at a low level. I can't believe that anybody wants to live at that low of a level. So what I want you to do is go to superpowerexperts.com, superpowerexperts.com, and I want you to hook up with Tonya and see what she's got going on. Look up the Super Power Up podcast. You can connect with her on facebook.com /Super Power Experts. Go to facebook.com /Tonya, TONYA .Recla, RECLA. Go to linkedin.com, and go to Tonya Dawn. Search for Tonya Dawn. And then you can also search for LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, go to Super Power Experts. So connect with her. She's doing amazing things. And I'm so happy that everybody is listening today. And, you know, we're working through technical difficulties. It's technology. You know, it happens. But go back, listen to the episode, and pull out exactly what you can apply to your life. And we're talking about amazing things that we overcome, that we deal with, and that we can talk about with other people with similar experiences. And so I just want to, as we close the show, I just want to thank everybody who has been supporting the show for the past year and who has, you know, just been there through everything. So as we close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out those values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call that living your brand. So until next episode, have a great night.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.